But as I said, Mave's been around obviously 30 years, since this is our 30-year anniversary this year, really last year, so we're founding it. But I'm sure that vision happened sort of early on. But from those times, you know, we used to have a program also called Capital Connection that most people, particularly those in Baltimore, will probably recognize, because Capital Connection was a name that I think was more synonymous with Mava even than Mava, because Capital Connection was not geographically based. It was about capital, it was about investment capital, and it was, from a branding standpoint, it was really what we were known for. And in the early days, you know, Mava and really Philadelphia and the whole Eastern Seaboard, I look at us as really the go-to place. Even in my Columbia days, it was the go-to place, really anything south of Boston. The New York community really wasn't formally formed as a pure venture community. Now today it's a very different animal. It really is, and quite vibrant. But in those days, you know, Philadelphia, Washington, Baltimore, and even Eastern Seaboard, there weren't Mavas. And that's really sort of where this organization was sort of created, and was working very closely with Philadelphia until a time when there was so much activity. I think the powers that be decided, let's split these two things. Let's have a Mava Capital Connection in Baltimore, and we'll do something in Philadelphia. And it was very amicable in the sense that those were markets that were maturing. And I think that's one of the hallmarks for Mava, is to always sort of be on that very front end, knowing that things are changing. And how do you sort of change and try to deliver some things that are really newly needed in a marketplace for our constituents. So Capital Connection was a big milestone for us. It ran for 25, 26 years. We still have vestiges of it in some of the programming we do today. I think partnering with people up and down the Eastern Seaboard has been really very paramount as well to our success and the industry's success. That's been important. Obviously, we have, when I came on board, we opened a Northern Virginia office and kept a Maryland office in those days when physical offices mattered. Today, they really don't. We're sort of virtual in where we operate. And what we did a few years ago, obviously, we're no different than the national markets. When venture has changed and it's had its ups and downs and the numbers of funds has changed, we did a lot of changes when the banking crisis happened. We really pivoted quite a bit. And at that moment, we really identified that we wanted to do some things in seed stage financing because we were fearful that a few years out, there would be very little money going into seed stage. So what could we do post-recession, 5, 6 years ago, of how we could basically support those early stage companies? And from that, we founded, that was in my era, we founded TechBuzz, which is something that people might be familiar with today. And that's essentially our new Capital Connection. Very different staged program, but it's a program that basically we run 3 times a year, and it really is for the earliest of the companies we try to serve. Mava's life cycle is really to be supportive of sort of 3 main constituents, and that really hasn't changed. How we do it has changed quite a bit. So at our core, obviously, is the private investment community, which I think has changed quite significantly over the years. We now, when we used to have primarily institutional venture, we now have family offices, VC, angels, growth equity, private equity, fund of funds, family offices that are institutionalized in the way that they invest. So we have all kinds of hybrids also affiliated with us. But really, they're all focused on putting fresh capital and active capital investing into the marketplace for high growth companies. Secondly, we have really always has been at our core in many ways, now a little more formalized, are the companies. So we have companies from both seed stage, but all the way up to companies that have either gone IPO or are in an acquiring mode. So we have companies that are venture backed and some that aren't, but they basically are companies that are on a high growth trajectory. And those are companies that we serve. And then thirdly, what I call the glue. We actually have a community of really dedicated professional advisors. And you know, it's not enough to just say these are law firms or these are accounting firms or these are advisory firms. I do think we have some of the very best advisors, bar anywhere in the country, that basically go and lock arms with companies and are great partners. And that has been sort of the tenet for the last 30 years. I think those three elements have really made up what I call MAVA's current community and our historical community.